consumers don't care about your products. I don't know if you've heard that before, but it will save your life. Consumers don't care about your product. The only person that cares about your product is who? Is you. I don't care whether your product helps me to transfer money in 2 minutes. But I care if it will help me to show the people in the village that I've arrived. Now, that's more important to me. All the technology bit is for you. What will I use it to signal? Yeah, my name is Feyi Olubodun. I'm sure you saw a poster that I said I made $100 million. When I saw that, I'm like, this man wants to kill me, because what LIRS and FIRS does, and keep this in mind, is they have a team that randomly browses newspapers and online. Once they see that you are becoming popular and they see a certain amount of money matched to your name, at some point they will send you a letter demanding tax on that money. This has happened to me, that's how I know. And whether you have the money or not, if you happen to reply to that letter, you'll get yourself in serious trouble. Okay. So I didn't make $100 million for myself. Let me just point that out. If I did, you will not see me here today. I will be somewhere in the south of France, drinking wine this afternoon. That's what I will be doing. But I have generated revenue of over $100 million when the dollar was like 200 and something naira, when I was at Insight and thereabouts. So I just wanted to clarify that so that I can have a good weekend. It's good to be here. I'm going to talk fast and slow because of time. I thought we were starting for 3 o'clock, so I was running a bit late for 3 o'clock, but looks like there were other things going on. I'm passionate about what I want to talk about, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is, in my career spanning now about 21 years or so, the most common failure that I have seen with businesses of all types is a failure to understand the consumer. It's not a failure to raise money. In fact, when I did my MBA at Duke Fuqua Business School of Business, which is better than Harvard, but the Harvard people will not agree, but we have the data that shows that Duke is a better business school than Harvard. So if you're a Harvard person here, well, my condolences. So anyway, a professor of strategy and entrepreneurship, Professor John Feld, wrote a lovely paper called The Second Law of Entrepreneurship. And one of the things he said is that too much money can kill a business. Almost all the startups that fail, is not lack of money that makes them fail. Abi? A lot of them have money, then they fail. So money oftentimes is not your problem. A lot of the times is because you don't have somebody who will buy your product. In fact, they tell you that the best source of capital for your business is from the consumer. Because if you get money from VCs, what you have, whether they call it debt or equity, is the same word in Yoruba language, basi. You still have to pay it back. It creates pressure of its own. But if you are paying money, if you are raising your money from your customers, they are not asking you to pay back. Actually, they will come back and give you more money. So I always recommend that you start with the consumers or start with the market and then move from there. One of my mentors once told us, said, date your ideas, don't marry them. And a lot of startup founders, their startups die because they married the idea. They didn't date. Please don't use it on any woman, this thing I just said. Don't go and make her and say, you are like an idea, I'm just dating you, I'm not, please. That's not, why did he say that? Your idea may not work. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can take it to the market and it actually does not work. That's totally fine. You should be comfortable with killing ideas. Be extremely comfortable with killing ideas rather than having the ideas kill you. A client came to us when we were at Insight and had this fantastic product, wanted us to market the product. Immediately I saw the product, I said, take this back and tell the client we are not doing this. It was a product of pre-cooked jollof beans. You know, you understand what we mean by jollof, with palm oil and everything. Packaged with a nozzle inside this sachet packaging and a cap. You can visualize what I'm describing, right? And his idea was that people are stuck in traffic and they need to eat. And that they can't afford good food, but everybody can afford beans. So, and they are driving. So if you give them this, they just open the cap and they are. And we're supposed to do the advertising for that. So in my mind, I visualized God sending thunder and lightning to strike me for advertising that product. The product was never going to sell. But he had built a factory. He had built a factory. He had manufactured the product. And I'm like, who is going to be driving in Lagos traffic and you are squeezing beans like this? How? I mean, complications all over the place. Then it's beans with palm oil. One drop can ruin your destiny, especially if you are going for an important meeting. But he had, It's not, you see, but he has built a factory. That was the most painful part of the story. Somehow he got money to build a factory. He had manufactured, he had done packaging. The packaging was very fine. The graphic designer got a lot of money. It was lovely. But the product was never going to sell. You know. So I'm passionate about consumers. Understand them directly. Don't do YouTube understanding and don't do Western consumers. We are not Westerners, and I'll show that to you, both from data and everything. We are not Westerners. What they tell you that generations are changing, Gen Z are changing, is not true. We are dressing differently. But our core values, our core beliefs and all of that is not changing. Can all the ladies raise their hand, please? I'm going to make a very generic assumption that you are all single. If you are not, leave your hand where it is, don't worry. We are just role-playing. Keep the hand up now, don't worry. Those of you that are willing to marry a plumber for love, leave your hand up. The rest of you, bring it down. There's no hand. This example is critical to this slide, though. It's not, but if you were Westerners, you would do that, wouldn't you? Don't you watch movies where that happens? Why will you do that? Which pastor will marry you? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a very simple example. I'll show you data, but it's a very simple example. We are not Westerners. Let me figure this out so I can. Do I point? Which direction do I point this? Oh, okay. I don't need to do anything. I need to do something. Okay. So I want to talk to you about African consumers and share my thoughts on how I think it can help you. Paul Mann, many years ago, this was 2018 that I quoted this. So that's about 6 years ago. He said that within 30 years from that time, most of the population of the world will live outside the West. Birth rates, for instance. The West, they are giving birth less and less, lower and lower birth rates. Isn't that so? In Japan today, the government is incentivizing young people to come together and have children. Just move in together and have children. You can divorce later. We need children. Because in Japan, the older demographic is more than the younger demographic. They live very old. I think retirement age in Japan is almost 90 or 100. Italy is 75 because they live very old. They are extremely healthy. The secret is sushi, by the way. So most of the population of the world is going to come from outside the West, Asia and Africa to be specific. And within 2 decades, by 2050, Africa will represent 54% of the population of the world. But that's not the interesting part. What is interesting is that Africa will be the only young continent in the world by 2050. All of us in this room will be alive. I'll be way older than I am now, so I intend by 2050 to buy a plate number for my car, limited edition. That's what I'll put there. I'll have the right to say that then. Because the age I will be by 2050, only less than 5% of people in Africa will be that age. You guys won't be able to say limited edition. You wait a while. But that's important because that young population is extremely entrepreneurial, extremely creative, is going to form the workforce of the world. You see? That's where the workforce of the world is going to come from. Whatever is happening with immigration anywhere in the West today, just ignore it. They will keep their doors open forever. They don't have enough people to run their economy. As at 10 years ago, 53% of the tax paid in the UK was paid by foreigners. It wasn't paid by indigenes. We work more than them. Abi? 3 jobs, everything, and you are doing content in between 2 jobs. On your way to the next one, you are doing video and all of that, and hustling from Nigeria, everything. We work more than them. We are more than them, so they will keep it open. That's why they kicked out Rishi Sunak, right? Because this is where the money is coming from, amongst other things. So we remain the only young continent in the world. And so I always say, if you are going to win with business in the future, you have to win in Africa. You can't run away from it. And if you're going to win in Africa, you have to know Africa beneath the skin. When I say beneath the skin, everybody in this room has macroeconomic data. You have demographic data. You have financial data and all of that. But you need another layer of understanding, that's psychographic and cultural understanding, to add to what you already have. And that's what I mean by knowing Africa beneath the skin. I've already this just illustrates the previous thing. 1 in 5 youths in the world are African as at today. Median age of between 18 to 25. Extremely young continent. When you look at that young continent, and you look at what we are doing with our music, this is the first time in like 30 years that a Nigerian is winning something, an international music award every year. See that Burna Boy, Wizkid, Thames, whatever. It has never happened before. The first Nigerian to win a Grammy nomination was King Sunny Ade in 1986. And that was before internet and all of that. But he didn't win a Grammy. And then it took usually it would take like a decade before another African gets nominated. But now, every year, we are picking up these things. Isn't that so? And then you look at what's happening in the world of fashion, Afropolitanism and all of that. You look at what happened here. I love this image because of this lady who is an icon of the image, but she broke multiple stereotypes, isn't it? Religious stereotypes, cultural stereotypes, gender stereotypes, generational stereotypes. Isn't that so? Now, when you look at all of these things that are happening, there's a temptation to think that the African consumer or the Nigerian consumer has shifted completely and become Western. Isn't that so? I remember when I started noticing in churches that people now wear cap in churches. And when I was growing up, like most of us, I'm not that old, nobody wore cap in church. Abi? Now people wear cap in church. Even pastors preach with cap in church. I'm like, okay, if the anointing is coming down, it won't touch your head. Remove the cap. Let the thing land. And, nobody doesn't feel odd to anybody. Isn't that so? You see that externally. The other day I was in church, I went for the Gen Z service. And the guy that was leading worship just said, let's take a selfie for Jesus. I moved to because I didn't know that lightning was going to come. So if you calculate the impact radius of lightning and thunder is but, and I'm like, okay, that's the new generation now, isn't that so? You can't even, when we're growing up, you cannot touch your phone in church. Why would you do that? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, that's a sermon on his own, you touching your phone. The Reverend has like 5 minutes sermon that he has prepared to address that. So when you look at all of that, there's a temptation to think that we have become completely Western. Isn't that so? But if you look at studies like this was done by Vaki Foundation and Populous a few years ago. And what they did was they surveyed youths across the world who were between the ages of 18 to 21 and were active on social media. And what they were looking for was cultural flexibility. In other words, the themes driving globalization, which were Western themes, how many of them were being embraced globally? And if you look at that chart, you will see Nigeria almost forming a bracket to the left. Isn't that so? Now, I want you to keep in mind that these are young people surveyed anonymously between the ages of 18 to 21 who were very active on social media. They don't believe that same-sex couples should be allowed to marry. When you go to their social media handles, they will tell you they believe. When you remove name and make it anonymous, they tell you they don't believe. Do you see what I'm trying to show you? They don't believe that abortion should be legal. They don't believe that transgender people should have the same rights as non-transgender people. On almost all the Western themes, a country like Nigeria is almost exactly like China. When you survey 18 to 21-year-old people anonymously, if you survey them with their names showing, if you survey what they are doing on social media, you do sentiment checks and all of that, they agree. If you remove names and switch off the lights and say, "Yeah, tell us what you really think." This is what they really think. So what that tells you that the African youth, while they are demonstrating digital behavior, they are actually still very analog in their identity and in their motivations, right? This is very, very important because some of your products will be digital, some of your product will not be digital. There are over 220 million people in Nigeria today. Maybe if you count Mowe Bafo as Lagos, you get 30 million people in Lagos, right? You have 170 million people outside Lagos. Over 200 fintechs in Lagos alone. Half of them are not making any profit. However, Opay showed up one day and had more money than everybody else. Opay is actually the most cash, the most liquid of all the fintechs. Can buy like the biggest ones 2 times over and have change. But Opay started outside Lagos, started in the southwest. As of January 2019, they had over 38,000 agents, more than MTN at that time. And all the agents were outside Lagos. And they were turning over almost, I think about that time, the equivalent of 10 billion naira or so per month outside Lagos. By the time they showed up in Lagos, they were rich enough to buy everybody away. And I always tell some of my clients, go outside Lagos first. We consulted for a fintech client, and my recommendation to the client was go outside Lagos, go and start in the north. But the founder wanted to start in Lekki. I said, why? Why would you want to start in Lekki? Lekki via Ikoyi has maybe at the most 6 to 7 million people. Alimosho alone has more people than Lekki. Where do you think elections are won in Lagos? Egbeda, Yanopaja, Alimo. There's no governor that has won election in Lagos in the past 15 years after the bridge. Nothing happens after the bridge. Nothing. It's just party, eating, pictures, Instagram posts. That's it. They don't vote. On the day of voting, they get barbecue, turkey, chicken, and then they are tweeting. We won't go, hashtag. That's what happens. The people that come out to vote, they are in the northern part of Lagos. That's why PDP has not been able to crack Lagos, because APC has locked down the northern part of Lagos. Those guys are extremely intelligent. You should study them for your startup. You are laughing. But Jagaban knows something that you don't. He is president. Are you? Yeah, he knows something that you don't. I'm telling you, I think the guy should be, it's not like I'm a fan, but I think he should be studied as a brilliant political strategist, right? Daddy has said criminally brilliant, but one of the, let me digress for 30 seconds. One of the problems or the weaknesses that people with good ideas have all over Africa is that they don't know how to mobilize at the grassroots. Africa is a grassroots country. It's not a continent. It's not a bourgeois continent. If you want to win power in Africa, you must be able to mobilize at the grassroots level. All the people that have brilliant ideas, educated abroad, they have semi-foreign accent. You know, foreign accent, but they'll pronounce some words wrongly. Have you experienced that one? And with accent, you understand? You see H factor with American accent. You know, this one went to Ilorin High School, then went to US from there. Brilliant people. If you tell them to go to a rural part of Lagos and go and sell a product to semi-illiterate people while eating amala with their hands, you'll be like, oh my God, that's what will happen. And so that person has a good idea on how to run Nigeria, but will never become president. And it's not the devil. It's just that the people that vote, they are not across the bridge. They are before the bridge, right? So think of some of your products. Who is going to buy them really? Where will your money come from? You understand what I'm saying? Where will your money come from? Is it going to come from after the bridge, or let me change it this way? Is it going to come from where you live, or is it going to come from somewhere else? And do you know where it's going to come from? How familiar are you with that? My friend Gigi Alcock puts it this way: Africans are modernizing, not westernizing. So we're adopting a lot of things externally that are Western, the way we dress. Look at me, I'm wearing native, and then I'm wearing sneakers on it. If my father saw me like this, it would be very difficult conversation. Feyi Olubodun. Mama huwa bai. You understand? But you guys don't think I'm strange. I think the way I dress, I even look a bit older than you guys. You know, you are more, there's more color going on, more blending, whatever. But we are modernizing, but we're not necessarily westernizing. That's actually a product from a friend of mine, Ethnic Africa, who uses the Ashoke fabric to make sneakers and all of that. The one I'm wearing is actually from his business. And it sells mostly to young people because they want to experience the Ashoke fabric, but they don't want to do Iro and Buba with cap and agbada and all those things. Isn't that so? So it makes it into shoes for them, makes it into shorts, laptop bags, and other accessories, and they love it. So they are modernizing, but they are not westernizing, right? And so I always say that we're not Westerners because if you look at Africa, you can break Africa into three. Northern part of Africa is pretty much like Dubai and co because of the blend of Islamic culture with Islamic religion with the culture. If you look at Southern Africa, you can split it into two, right? You have white Southern Africa, which is basically an Anglo-Dutch culture. And then you have the Ubuntu culture, which is very similar to what you have in the middle part of Africa, where Nigeria and all the others are Black Africa, if you can call it that. Now, I argue always that South Africa should not be used as a template for the rest of Africa, because in South Africa they speak 11 languages. There are 1,500 languages spoken in Africa. 520 of those are spoken in Nigeria alone. We have the highest ethno-linguistic density of any country in the world. There is no country in the world that speaks as many languages as Nigeria. In Nasarawa State alone, they speak over 24 languages. That's more than all the languages spoken in South Africa, right? So actually, Nigeria is, from a statistical point of view, the country that should be a template for the rest of Africa. From a marketing point of view, from a business point of view. And I say when I get the opportunity to talk to international clients, I tell them, if you can crack Nigeria, you will crack Africa. If you crack the rest of Africa and you don't crack Nigeria, you have not cracked Africa. Nigeria is actually Africa. Quite literally, in a very literal, it's just that Nigerians have national low self-esteem. That's just the problem. We think everything is lesser than us. We think that someone that speaks with an accent like mine is not very educated. Abi? So all of you everybody's trying to have foreign accents, whatever. But the Chinese are buying the world with Chinese accents. Isn't that so? They even refuse to speak English to insult the West that we have more money than you. We have to say something else. You understand? Abi? Look at the Middle East. They speak Arabic. They speak their own language. In China, in Middle East, they've almost eradicated illiteracy. You know why? It's very simple. The key to removing illiteracy in Nigeria is very simple. It's what the Chinese did. They translated all the textbook to Chinese. Right? I don't have to learn physics in English. The reason we are struggling with literacy in Nigeria and in most African countries is that we say you have to learn English first before you learn everything else. Abi? You are here now, you are startup founders, you've gone to startup school, you are doing profit and loss, and and you have very complex names for these things like growth marketing. As if there's a marketing that is not meant to grow anything. So when I see growth marketing, I'm like, okay, is there a marketer that is not a growth marketer in the business so we can meet him? So you complicate things for yourself. But if you go out and go to around Deeper Life there, the woman that is selling barley or corn, that woman understands business. If you ask her, how many does she need to sell to make gain? Don't use profit. She can tell you while she's there how many corn she needs to sell so that she can have enough capital to buy more corn and still have gain, not profit, gain. What she's articulating for you is her business model and her P&L. But she has been told that she's not as intelligent as you. But actually, she knows more about business than you. You should sit with her. She has been making gain, not profit. She has been making gain for 20 years and has trained 2 children from gain. You are using faith to raise your house rent while you are a startup founder. She knows more than you. She knows a lot more than you. Oh, okay, sorry. It's not you I'm talking to you. It just happened. Have you seen all those mamas in Balogun Market? Have you seen all those mamas in Balogun Market? When it is summer or Christmas, go back to their shop. You see their daughters selling cloth with British accent. It is from there that they sent the girl to University of Reading. Abi? And you will look at that woman. You should call that woman to come and talk to you about how to run a business. They know. The issue is that you have been told you have to speak English first. Then after you learn English, you will now learn finance and business, whatever. You don't need to learn English for anything. The first time I traveled to the UK and I saw an illiterate British person, I could not believe it. I had culture shock. I said, you mean it? So there are white people that don't have sense. My goodness. I felt very proud. My shoulders just stood up. Feyi, good one. They don't appreciate you in Lagos. Come here. I was shocked. There are actually English-speaking people who are illiterate. There are people who have never read as many books as you have read in this world. In fact, there are plenty. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Okay. So we have that. So I always say the secret to winning in any market lies at the center of commerce, culture, and the consumer. The commercial aspects, you guys know that. What sort of market structures are you going into? Is it a monopoly, oligopoly, or a perfect competition? Monopoly is when you have 1 or 2 players that are playing there. So the entry to barrier is very high. If anybody here says the idea is to launch a cement business, I would say, have you considered teaching? It's also a good deal. You can't win between Rabiu and Dangote. Just don't waste your time. You can't. It's a monopoly. It's dominated. Just government had to call them. Please help us reduce cement. We appreciate you. It's not. You can't fight against them. They've locked it down. Oligopoly is when you have like 3 to 5 players who dominate the market. The market entry cost is a bit lower, but it's still significant. You understand? You have to consider where you are going into. When you are going into a market that is perfect competition, so you have between 5 to 10 people dominating the market, what you then have is that your marketing capability has to increase, right? The more players in the market, the more your marketing capability has to increase. And let me simplify marketing. Marketing, according to Baba Kotler, is creating a customer base that is profitable and sustainable, and you communicate to them your proposition, you deliver your proposition, and you maintain it over time. All marketing is growth marketing. Okay, growth marketing is actually a tautology. If you're a growth marketer here, I apologize. I didn't invite myself. You understand? All marketing is meant to grow the business. If you have a marketing person that is not growing your business, sit down with them, fire them after you buy them lunch. And, that's their job. So you look at that, the kind of talent you need. In an HBR article, October 2010, they say companies don't go global, people do. Observe this, most of the multinational companies have CEOs that are either Europeans and Asians. Isn't that so? You rarely find Americans. The reason is that Europeans and Asians are the most traveled people in the world. So they have higher cultural competence. And this is important to you because if you're developing a product that is not necessarily going to be sold in Lagos, will be sold outside Lagos, or a regional product, you have to pay attention to your cultural competence. How culturally competent are you? Can you function in another culture, even within Nigeria? I always encourage people, it's not every time you travel abroad. Most Nigerians travel to 2 destinations. UK, or Europe if you like, and the US. And they don't do deep cultural immersion. This is what the typical Nigerian travel looks like. They go to the home of their uncle that they know. After 15 hours flight, when they arrive, they first eat their local food. Why will I tear ticket to eat Indomie in Houston? It doesn't make sense. Then they eat that, then they eat amala or whatever. And then they go to malls and take pictures bending one leg like village chicken and post it online. Then they come back. So they know nothing about the culture. They don't have any idea. Actually, the way you should travel is deep cultural travel. When you travel, find where the locals are eating. Eat the local food. Nothing will happen to your stomach. If something happens, take flagyl. That's why they invented it. You'll be okay. Travel to a country where you don't speak the language. You will learn so much. You will see nuances that you will find interesting. If you go to the north and you live there for 1 year, your view about Nigeria will change. Do you know that Hausas are the most hospitable people in Nigeria by far? They are the kindest people by far. By far. More than Yoruba people. Obviously, you know I'm Yoruba, so I can say this one. Have you? They are very straightforward. Hausa people. And they are a minority, actually, in the north. Not all northerners are Hausas. It was Uthman Danfodio that colonized the north by making Hausa the language of the north. They're actually a minority group, and they are extremely intelligent and extremely educated. One of the guys that used to beat me in chess in school was a Hausa boy that went to university together. That guy I don't know where he is today, but was very brilliant. You will see, to change your mind, if you speak Hausa language, no matter how little, if you speak it to a Hausa man, he will begin to teach you his language because he's excited you know his language. He wants you to learn. If you speak Igbo to an Igbo man, he switches to English because the Igbos don't want you to learn their language. It's a military strategy for them. They take it personal. They switch immediately. You can live in the East for 1 year, 5 years, and not understand the word of Igbo. You will come back as Yoruba as you are. But if you live in the north for 1 year and you are single, you will never marry Folake again. You are coming back with Amina and your children will be bearing Abdul, Usman, all of those things. You will speak Hausa fluently because they are a more welcoming and absorbent culture. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, you can't learn that by sitting in Lagos and browsing YouTube. You can't learn that. And you want to sell a product. I see some of the startup slides, they always write, we want to change Africa. I said, okay, well done. We are praying for you. You understand? You want to change Africa, but you don't even know Nigeria. As a matter of fact, you don't know anywhere outside your locality in the state that you are living in. And you want to sell to how many millions of consumers that you don't know. And you don't have a methodology for knowing them. Do a road trip. Especially if you are selling consumer goods, right? That you need a huge consumer base to use your product. If you are a B2C founder, not a B2B. B2B is different. But if you are a B2C, take a road trip around Nigeria. Nothing will happen to you. I'm telling you for free. Nothing will happen to you. I didn't say you should go to Zambisa forest. But go around. Nothing will happen to you. If you doubt it, follow bikers on Instagram. People like Bonaya Kanu, I think, Photo Daddy or so. Follow him. Follow bikers. Those guys ride around the country. Sometimes their bikes break down in villages at night, and they don't understand. They can't even speak the language. And so you discover that the universal language across the world is what? There are 3 universal languages. No, now you are too educated. You went to Harvard, Abi? Oh, sign language. No, now. 1, beer. That's the second one, alcohol. No, Food. Food is the number 1 universal language. 2 is alcohol. 3. No. Water and alcohol are the same, depending on where you are. No. No, not music. No. No, not women. Women is, if you expand it to 5 or 6, you get to women. But the 3rd universal language anywhere in the world is sleep. It's sleep. There's nowhere in the world, if you get there, you don't understand. If you do like this, they will give you a room to sleep. Anywhere in the world. Those are food, alcohol, and sleep. Those are the 3 universal languages. Everybody understands them. If you are comfortable sleeping anywhere, you are comfortable eating any food, and you are comfortable drinking any form of drink, you can travel anywhere in the world and survive. You don't need to understand their language. Just get there and do this. They bring the food, you eat it. Do like this. They bring the alcohol, you drink it. Then do this. They give you a place to sleep. The following morning, they start gisting with you. You are their friend. If you stay 6 months, you will start speaking their language. Now you know the world. But if you travel to UK and you arrive, Shelamala, after 1.2 million economy tickets, you can eat amala for 1K in Ikeja. Don't waste money. Culture. How do you see culture? There are 3 frameworks, but I will rush through them. This is the one that I think is valuable to you. The fact that the Western culture is individualistic, African culture is collectivist. We are a we culture. We think of the we more than the I, right? And so, because of the way we are designed. So, for instance, universalism versus particularism, for instance, the fact that in Western cultures everything is universal, right? There's a law, there's a rule to things, things are organized, there's no, and all of that. If, for instance, you are driving at night and the traffic light, 2 a.m. traffic light is red, you stop, Abi? Even if you are the only one on the road. Is that, and not, if you try and jump, there's punishment waiting for you. Abi? But in Africa, Abi, by 8 o'clock, it's last month I will say, go. Happy weekend. and then you move. So we are very situational. We are not universal. We are very situational. We are very nuanced. We are very relational. You will get more done by meeting with somebody face to face than by talking to them over Zoom. We are very relational. We like to feel each other. Say, I don't trust that guy. You say, why? When I said something, you see the way he shook his shoulder. People that shake shoulders like that, they steal money. You understand? That's how we are. The guy may be incredibly brilliant, but if you can't connect with him, if you go to the north and you want to do business with a northerner, you have to be extremely patient. They will observe you in multiple situations. They will invite you to come and eat. You will eat. They will delay. You will talk for 2 hours. The man will not sign that contract. He wants to know the kind of person you are. Because Northerners do business with people, not with degrees. So if you go there with your Harvard mind and say, this country is so bad, they don't do things on time. Oh, yeah, my law. If you want the money, you can, you understand? But if you understand that that's how they are, you have to blend. If you are doing business with Easterners, Southeasterners in there, they drink alcohol much earlier in the day. By lunch, they bring 1 or 2 bottles. If you don't join them, I'm not saying you should drink. But that's how they, if you are looking at how can this one be drinking, all this on serious people. The guy is very serious. He has more money than you. But culturally, that's how they behave. Do you understand what I'm saying? So again, to the point of cultural competence, being able to relate with different people, the fact that we are situational, our emotions, how we express it, are we neutral or expressive? Westerners are very neutral. Abi? They don't raise their voice. They want to kill you, they will say it very calmly. I'm about to kill you now. And then, if somebody is coming to kill you now, you know from afar. From their Abi? That's why Nigerian movies, we don't have serial killers. Because if one person kills somebody, everybody will know. But to involve people, the person has killed everybody on the street. They are still investigating in 2.5 hours. He's living next door. Where am I waste time? You understand what I'm saying? Because emotions are very neutral. We are more expressive. The issue of locus of control, whether it's internal or external, the Western culture have an internal locus of control. They believe that everything depends on you. You are supposed to fix everything by yourself and all of that. So you see, for instance, that they have a very strong DIY culture. You see guys fixing cars, servicing their own cars, all those kind of things. In Nigeria, if you're servicing your own, Tunde, it is well, oh. God will provide for you, eh? It's a mark of suffering. Or you are fixing your own plumbing. You want to ask a girl out, she comes to your house, you are now fixing plumbing. That guy is broke. You can't even pay for plumber. Oyinbo will see a guy fixing his plumbing. He's so handy. Oh my God, so sexy. You understand? So we are not the same. I'm repeating this, so that it sinks in. We are very, very different. African cultures, we have an outer locus of control. We believe that external things determine a lot of things. So if you watch Western movies, the most common line, you will notice it after today, it's my fault. African movies, the most common line is, it's not my fault. Don't worry, you notice it after today. Let me move to space. Or time. Is time absolute or situational? In the West, time is absolute. 5 minutes is 60 seconds multiplied by 5. For us, time is a feeling. It's not really, there's 24 hours, we wear wristwatches, but that's not how you tell time now. You know. After we've been talking for 5 minutes now, have we not? No, who said that? It's not more than 5 minutes. Time is a feeling. It's situational for us. And that's very, very important. And of course, we are still gender separate. Space is diffuse for us. My space is your space. In the West, if you want to visit a friend, you send an email, you tell the date you are coming, the time you will come, and the time you leave. Here, you just hear a knock. What do you have in your kitchen? And if it's your first flat, 3-bedroom, you just hear the phone call. But Letunde, you have been so good. I love the way God has helped you so that you can help others. Your cousin is at the bus stop, pick him. And that is the end. Because somebody trained you, you must train somebody else. So in Africa, our life is both contributory and participatory. Someone contributed to our lives, you must participate in someone else's life. There is no such thing as a self-made man. It's a very Western. How will you be self-made? Explain it to me. Start from the beginning. You came out of your mother's womb, then started walking by yourself. It's not possible. If you go home and you don't greet somebody well, one of those aunties, come here. Me that was changing your diaper, you are walking. So who made you? Everybody. You belong to everybody, and everybody belongs to you. I'm not running for president, but you understand. you know, for instance, if you go to the UK, this is actually from my own experience, you take the black cab, they put the meter, you sit down, they don't talk to you. At the end, you see your price and you go. If you go to Morocco, I took a cab from hotel to airport at Casablanca. The joker said 300 Moroccan dirhams after we negotiated. Nigerians don't negotiate. Oh. Moroccans are mad. So, and I got into the car, then there was traffic. So he started renegotiating because now there is traffic. So we spent the whole trip negotiating till we got to the airport, and I ended up paying more because he brought out the last card. He has 5 children. This money cannot ask. You understand? So, and I discovered that in Morocco, no price is fixed until you pay. So if you go to a restaurant and you buy food, and this is so good, really? At 20 dirhams. So I'm telling you, if you don't have enough money, once you are eating, just start saying, it's not really so good, I'm not enjoying it. And just leave. So, but unlike Czech Republic, they are so detailed that if you order a steak that is 300 grams and is a so no amount of euros, maybe 80 euros, and you ask that it is well done, and they bring it back, the chef will weigh it again. If it's 288 grams, the chef will now prorate the original bill and reduce it for you. So they don't negotiate in Czech Republic. If you go to a cab driver and say, we are going here to say reduce it, he will tell you, no problem. This is the amount to the place. We've calculated it by kilometers. But since you cannot afford it, there's a shortcut you can trek, and they will describe it for you in great detail so that you don't miss it. Now, look at that, and then look at a Morocco where you negotiate till you pay. You understand? I have another reference, but I don't think my church man would not allow me to use it, so let's move on. This is from Hofstadter. I think the important thing about this one is the fact that Nigerians have a short-term orientation. And because of that, our indulgence level is very high. And our power distance is very high. Bless you. Sorry. Our power distance is very, very high. So we like honorific titles and things like that. Respect, CEO, Nigeria is the only country where one man will have multiple titles. GMD, CEO, chairman, one person. And all of that. All the Western people, they just have one title. CEO. And that's it. And they leave it like that. I'm going to skip all of this and go straight to this part. So what we discovered is that the African consumer is a villager, hence the title of the book that you heard earlier. But the village, however, is not a physical location. It's a psychological construct that has 5 components. I'm going to skip all of this. Don't worry, I'm skipping that. The first component is staying cultural, the need to retain aspects of your cultural identity regardless of where you go in the world. And Africans do that 3 ways. 1, they engage in behaviors that attract community sanctions. That attract community affirmation. They avoid behaviors that attract community sanctions, and they carry out community rituals. So you see that they celebrate World Igbo Day World Igbo Day and New Yam Festival in Kansas, in Houston, in whatever across the world, even though they are there. Isn't that so? And you see that the Southwesterner, anywhere he is in the world, he must still build his first house in the village. Because if you like build mansion in Lagos, you are not considered a rich man until you have built a mansion in the village. Isn't that so? And wherever they are in the world, they do this, right? So that need to stay cultural. You retain elements of your cultural identity. I'm not talking about the external manifestations of culture, how you dress, how you speak, where you go to, but certain core aspects of who you are, strong beliefs and all of that, we retain that.
Good morning is Inakwana. Good afternoon is Inai. I am fine is
Now, okay, I can feel all the ladies going mushy. These are solved all your mother-in-law problems and all of that. But what of course, I didn't do this ad, but I like it as a reference for the issue of staying cultural, especially language as a reference. You notice they didn't talk about their product at all. They didn't talk about what the product does at all. They talked about something that connects to the world of the consumer. This is one of the most common mistakes I see fintechs making all the time. You guys talk too much about your product. We already know that your app is the fastest. How is that my business? That is your business. It's not mine. I'm your consumer. I'm living my life within my cultural frame of reference. What tension can your brand resolve for me? That's what I want to know. I don't want to know whether you are the fastest, you can transfer in 2 seconds. Before Uncle, what will that do for me? Is there something about my life? Because consumers don't care about your products. I don't know if you've heard that before, but it will save your life. Consumers don't care about your product. The only person that cares about your product is who? Is you. When you woke up this morning, you know you are a consumer for someone else's product. Which brand did you think of this morning? Or that you've thought of so far? Your own. All the other brands that you are using, you don't think of them. What you think of is a problem. Then your mind goes to a brand or a product that you know solves that problem best for you. Do you see the process? Right? So you, as startup founders and owners, need to think of the problem that your target consumer is having. That problem is what you must marry. Your idea or product, you date them. If they don't solve the consumer problem, you break up and bring a product. It's the same brain that you are using. You can come up with another product idea. Don't worry about that one. Are you with me? The only thing consumers care about is themselves. Their problems, their issues, and that's it. And they live like that. I'm going to skip all of this. I've already spoken about this. I'm going to skip this too. The second element, am I moving in the right direction? Okay. I'll skip this. We all know this, but I'll skip it. Okay. Please help me. No, go back, please. Go back, please. Again, yes. No, go back. Go back. Back again. Yes, stop here for me. The second component is herd mentality. The need to experience the rites of passage at the same pace as your demographic cohort, whom we fondly call age mates. This is very uniquely African. The need to do things in life at the same time that your age mates are doing, because we're a collectivist culture. We are not an individualistic culture. Isn't that so? So because of that, I want to graduate when my mates graduate, marry when my mates marry, have children when my mates have children. Someone came to me years ago and said all his mates that they were being promoted at the same time and he should get promoted. So I said, would you like to die at the same time your mates are dying? He left my office and didn't come back. So, so that's us. It's a very, very, very African, very, very African thing. So that's why we say if you want to travel fast, you travel alone. If you want to travel far, you go together. The likelihood that you will have many Africans who are billionaires in their 20s is very small. You will train people. You will draw from billionaire to millionaire first. Later, you will now move forward. I'm going to skip. This is a clip from Blood Diamond where the character played by Jimon Hussein had a conversation with the character played by DiCaprio. DiCaprio played a white South African. Jimon played, I think, a Cameroonian or an Ivorian. And he was saying, you are 31, why are you not married? Why? Because at 31, as a man, you should be married. Okay, you don't have money. When you get this Blood Diamond and you sell it, you will not. And he said he doesn't think so. He wants to enjoy his life. Why? He's an individual, he's a Western individualistic mindset. Isn't that so? And you see that at the end of the movie, he died without even telling the girl. Core Africans, you like a girl, once you have money, you go and marry her straight away. In fact, that's why you chase the money in the first place. Isn't that so? Because that's what your mates are doing. Exactly, you are getting it. The third aspect is the value of the enemy. All of us have been taught, especially growth marketers, that if you want to build brand, you build it with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that everybody is looking for self-actualization. This is not correct. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, studies have shown, applies only to Westerners. The first study that can show that for you, if you doubt it, is the work by Hofstadter, Professor Hofstadter. The book is called Cultures and Civilizations, Software of the Mind. They stated that it doesn't apply to anybody outside the West. It's based on an individualistic culture where what you are looking for is to achieve your own thing. Joseph Steinfeld, or Heinrich, professor at Stanford University, wrote a wonderful book, The Weirdest People on the Planet. Weird is an acronym for westernized, industrialized, educated, rich, and developed. And he argued that most of the psychology that we use to view the world, 95% of the psychology that we use to view the world is from the West, especially America. And that there's a need for us to bring multiple psychologies of the world and bring it together. Let me illustrate with this. When I was in business school, a couple of my classmates were discussing, one Indian, one American. And the Indian told the story of a classmate who was in love with an American when he was doing his BSc. And they were in love. It was love story. It was sounding like Bridgerton and all of that. But they didn't get married. And the American could not understand why love does not conquer all. Abi? Romeo and Juliet and all of that. So this argument was good. I could see the Indian didn't want to explain to the American. So I put my mouth. I said, because in India, it is families that marry each other, not people. You see? Because it's a collectivist culture. Same thing in Africa. It's families that... Something happened to you, Abi, the way you... It's families that marry each other. Abi? The typical process is that you see a girl you like her, you take her home. That's the end. After that, it's the families that take over. They will fix wedding date and invite you and fight over wedding. You see that most Nigerian or African weddings, you see that the groom doesn't dance too much. Have you ever wondered why? All the men know where I'm going. He's conserving energy because it's at that night that he will reap his first reward. So he doesn't want to dance too much and he's not tired. We are not going to be tired. Look, I paid. And it's also why things like divorce is very difficult in our culture. Because you didn't marry each other. Abi? If you say you want to divorce your wife, for instance, they will call family meeting. They will listen to you. They will listen to her. Allow you to finish. That's what these people always do. They listen very well. Then your father will ask you, can you see your mother? You say, yes. Do you think I like her? But I have been married to her. What is your problem? Then the mother will look at the girl and say, look at your father. Do you think I love you? Is he not doing his duty? Is he not training the children? Your husband, is he training the children? You say, yes. Is he doing what is you say, yes. So what is your problem? So at that point, you keep quiet. So in more rural settings, in more traditional settings, if you and your wife, if you are fighting, when you think about that conversation, you will suspend the divorce and go to sleep and resolve it. Isn't that so? But in the West, we married each other. So we sent you an email. I'm marrying Caroline. I'd like you to invite to come to the wedding. The same way I will send you email. Caroline and I have decided we are not getting married again. Your parents will reply, we wish you well. Try that here now. You understand? So the most important motivation for Africans is the value of the enemy. The need to prove wrong, somebody who has said that you cannot achieve something. When we're testing this and we were running the research, we thought that it was older people that this would be strongest for. And I'll show you an interesting data from Uganda. We thought it was older people that it would be strongest for. It turns out it was the younger people. A girl broke down crying during research. were very afraid that have we violated something. And she told us the story of how her father died. And the uncle said they cannot become anything. So she and the brother came to Lagos and they made it. Then when they were going home for Christmas, instead of carpooling, they went in separate cars. Then when they arrived at the village, you know where they went to now? First to the uncle's house. As he walked them outside, who owns these two cars? It's you and it's you. Hey! You know the part of the country this happened. And she was crying as she was telling this story. What we actually found out was that the older demographic, 45 and above, this particular attribute was weaker for them because they've achieved what they are pursuing. It was the younger demographic that the need to prove somebody wrong is strongest for. Did you notice that all the club banger songs are anti-hater songs? Right? In Olamide's song, The Glory, Oluwa jen lowo jen lota, tomba gbe moto tuntun wa ki ma bere pe lo non ta. God, let me have money and let me have enemies. It's very important. One of the young guys in the focus group said to us, sir, we need enemies. I said, why? He said, they are the ones that keep us going. So the African interpretation of an enemy is not an antagonist you need to remove. It's somebody that you need to be alive. And that's why, what do we say? Let my enemies, so that they can what? See what I will become. Fourth, pillars of religion. All religion in Africa have three components. One, the belief that there's a deity that has a glorious future for you that is characterized by fame and fortune. We call that what? Destiny. Abi? When you say destiny, have you seen anybody say my destiny is to be a plumber? No. All destinies have fame and fortune included. Abi? Even when pastors pray, don't say God can call you to be the best plumber in the street. Have you heard any pastor say that? It's always you are going to be president, you are going to be the next damn good. Everything is fame and fortune. And second, we believe that in pursuit of the fame and fortune, we meet people that enable us to accomplish those things faster. What do we call them? Destiny helpers. And thirdly, on the way, we sometimes meet people who hinder us. What do we call them? No, enemy is different. No. It's the opposite of destiny helper. What's the opposite of destiny helper? Eh? No, blocker. Who said that? You went to Harvard. No, not village people. Destiny destroyer. Destiny destroyer. Not lucky girls, oh. Destiny destroyers. And everywhere in Africa, all religions believe these three things. All religions. So I say to brand owners, how can you think of using these three things? How can you think of positioning your brand as an enabler, in quote, a destiny helper to where your consumers are going? Because they believe this. There's no need to change their mind. Use it. Okay? And then finally, signaling your journey. Signaling your journey, the need to show where you are in life based on the brands or the products you are consuming. We call that arriving. Abi? How are we going to know you have arrived if you don't? Abi? How are we going to feel your presence? I thought you people went out more than me. You don't know these things. Hey? You understand? If you move forward in life, we should see it. We don't do net worth. Oh, his net worth is this. Kilonya net worth. My friend, did you change your car? You are not rich in here. There's no... Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? It's a very Western concept. All startup founders wear black T-shirt and jeans. I'm not going to argue with you. But next time your mother is celebrating her 75th birthday, wear black T-shirt and jeans. And say, I'm a startup founder. This is how we dress. Can you see Zuckerberg? In this, it's not possible. We have to see your level of wealth by the things you consume. You cannot be a billionaire and you have been living in the same house for 20 years. They will call your wife. You want to spoil this boy's life? You understand what I'm saying? We are a qualitative culture. We need to signal. So Africans consume brands realistically, symbolically, and futuristically. We consume realistically brands that we consume in private. If you wear a Gucci boxer, something is wrong with you. Nobody is seeing it, right? We consume futuristically brands that are either for family use or generational use, right? So the woman in the market, Okeani, will put huggy diapers on her baby and leave the baby to sit. Abi? And if you ask her, why are you, I'm a billionaire, she will diaper to billionaire and loan, you know. So she's projecting her aspirations on the child, generational mobility. We consume symbolically products that we consume socially. So you have to think, how will your product be used and in what context will it be used? If it's a product that is going to be used socially, what are the cultural symbolisms that you build into it? How does it help that person signal where they are? I don't care whether your product helps me to transfer money in 2 minutes, but I care if it will help me to show the people in the village that I've arrived. Now, that's more important to me. All the technology bit is for you. What will I use it to signal? You understand? If they get money from your platform, for instance, what does it mean in the village? If you have a platform that transfers money from the city to the village, what would they say about it? Let's say the platform is called Feyi Transfer. Do you want people to be saying that it is big people that transfer money with Feyi Transfer? Your son has not made it, though. That's why he's using no pay. If he has made it, it's Feyi Transfer that he will use. That is what will get customers to use your product. Not how many APIs you use, whether 10 cents back to. If you like, let anybody back you. You understand? Lucifer can back you yourself. He has money. Nobody cares. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry I'm talking like this. I went to school. I want to let you know. So, and by the way, my first job was as a data analyst. So I used to write code for a living. But I've discovered people don't really care about your product. It's about their lives and their problems they care about. The attributes of your product is for you. It's for you. It's not for them. All right? So this will make you laugh. So one time I used to drive that, the sedan. I don't drive it anymore. If you see this outside, it's not mine. And then because, like you, I watch films, so I wanted to buy this one, which is older. Abi? It looks cooler, classic cars, all those kind of things. Do you know that the car dealer refused to sell this car to me? And his reason was, Oga, you cannot be moving backward in life from 2012 to 2008. No. I said, it's the car. It's not me. I'm not moving back. He said, no. We had an argument. I even offered to pay him more. He refused to sell it. So I went to my brother who deals in cars. I said, you know what? Help me sell this. I want to buy it. He said, I do not, no. I will never be part of you moving backward in life. Backward, I'm not moving backward. I like this car. This is the one I like. It just happens to be older. I said, no, you should be moving forward. Look at the car. It's meant to take you forward in life. So, I have to signal my journey. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you have a portfolio of products, for instance, how can you position multiple products so that the products are lined up across the consumer's aspirational journey? I'll skip this. So this framework puts it together. We call it the village map. We have methodologies to gather data around this, and I'll show you some of that. So core motivations of the African community, we take from the community, so we want to give back to the community. Tribal progress, none of us is successful until all of us are successful. Purposeful achievement, our achievement must display a recognized impossibility in the community. 4, endless hope and optimism. Africans are not Africans without hope. And finally, signaling possibility. And this is some of the data that from work we've done for clients. Have debranded them. You see, for instance, in Uganda, where we surveyed a sample of 1,600, you see 18 to 16 years old, under staying cultural, that's SC. They are very low in staying cultural. But when you look at CS, which is community sanctions, they are very high. They are almost at the national index. Why that is so is because even though if you look at the Ugandan youth, is very Western and very bougie, very suave, cosmopolitan, he still will not do certain things that he knows that they will frown on in his community. He is still very, very communal in his nature, but externally he is very cosmopolitan. Do you see what? Do you see? Do you see that? Sorry, I wanted to show. How do I go back up? Yes. Now you look at Uganda. That's the blue chart is total Uganda. Kampala is that's the city, and you see as I go through the data, what you find is that cosmopolitan cities under index in cultural values, cultural motivations. What that means is that if you want to build a product that will go national, you cannot use Lagos and Abuja as your reference, as your frame of reference for consumers. You have to blend in some of the regions you are going into. If you drive outside of Lagos to Ibadan people are very different from Lagosians. So extremely, very, very different. I'm telling you, you can't date an Ibadan girl conveniently. They never say yes and they never say no. Let's go out. And the day she tells you she's not doing, but you said we are going out. I didn't say we're going. You said you will take me out and I followed you. And I said I'm not going again. Say, you understand? Very different. All right. This is West Africa. Of course, this is Nigeria. So you see here, I wanted to show Southeast and Southwest. Blue is the national index. You see that the Southeast over-indexes on almost every cultural attribute. The reason for that is that the Southeastern Nigerians, they are they have the highest cultural integrity. Wherever they go in the world, they maintain their culture. The Southwesterners have the lowest cultural integrity. We dilute our culture very, very quickly. There's hardly any Igbo person in this room that does not speak Igbo in this room. I can bet. I don't need to ask questions. But all the Yoruba people in this room, especially the Lagos people, they don't understand one Yoruba proverb. One. And their name, they usually have a very strong Yoruba name. Oluwa Tilerewa. You know that kind of, then they will shorten it to Tile. That kind of thing. But look at, I can't even pronounce your name, so I won't try. He came and he gave us an Igbo proverb. Right? Hardly do you see young Yoruba people able to give Yoruba proverbs. Hardly. Because once we are exposed to cosmopolitan area, we dilute our culture, but the Igbos never do. So if you are taking a product to the southeast of Nigeria, it has to be infused with Igbo culture. It will not fly anywhere. It must be very, very infused with Igbo culture. I'll show you what happens in the north. Okay, this is the one I'm going to. You see that in the north, staying cultural, that's Kano over there. This is actually for a fintech client, actually. You see that Kano over-indexes on staying cultural. So in the north, culture is very strong, but there's a particular aspect of culture that is very strong, and that is hierarchy. So if you want to crack the north with a product, you have to crack it through community hierarchy. They will likely adopt your product if the village elder or the opinion leader tells them to adopt your product. You don't need to do any marketing. Just get the village leader to say that this product is good, and it tells everybody they will use your product. Straight away. That's why the Lagos clients could not understand the north. They wanted to go to Lekki because you just tell everybody's using everything and all of that. But in the north, it's not like that. In the north, you use hierarchy. In the east, you use strong culture. How many of us know why you can't use hierarchy in the east? Huh? No. They have a saying. Tell me, the Igbo man has no king. Yeah. So you can't use hierarchy. You know? Again, look at Lagos. Lagos under indexes just like Kampala. So you can't use Lagos as a reference. You see Abuja and Port Harcourt very different. What is happening there? In Port Harcourt, what moves them is that you are doing things at the same pace as your age mates. How can you be seen that you are achieving at your age mate? So these are things that you need to think about. As I talked earlier about aspirational horizon, you know, but let me jump to, this brings it all together. which is that, what does that mean? All of those insights. It means that there are 5 fundamental things you must do with African consumers if you are targeting them. You must celebrate, you must recognize who they really are, that is their identity. You must empower them to go where they want to go, that's their aspiration. You must enable them to be who they want to be, that's their ambition. You must celebrate the journey that they've come from, that's their journey. And you must celebrate the people they are traveling with. That's their functional tribe, not their tribe of origin. And it's your job to figure out of these 5 elements, which of these are top 2 for your particular brand or product. Lastly, we discover that if you infuse culturally appropriate design language into all of the touch points for your brands, it has the potential to increase your brand patronage by up to 65%. So think about the design and the look and feel of all the touch points, especially point of purchase for your products. Best example, Esther Mahalango I didn't pronounce her surname well, from South Africa, who was engaged by BMW to design all the interior of their cars to look South African. And those editions, actually, it just sold out and all of that. Thank you very much. I took longer than I wanted. And it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.